Back to Media Watch. To our national news, the debate in China over the crackdown on prostitution has intensified as authorities announced a nationwide crackdown on the so-called world's oldest profession. And yes, the debate in Chinese media and online is anything but one-sided. Now, our first perspective comes to the Taiwan-based China Times, and it suspects politics is behind the crackdown. Reports say that Fu Zhenghua, the deputy head of the Ministry of Public Security, is leading this crackdown. Fu was promoted as head of the Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau back in 2010. Well, just weeks after he was promoted, he cracked down on the then most popular Passion Club in Beijing. Zhaobao.com, on the other hand, says the crackdown may lead to something else. But the report also questioned the ethics behind the state TV's so-called exposé. Dongguan's prostitution industry has a long history and is very mature. The local government has cracked down on the industry several times. However, the industry would recover and would get even bigger. What's different about this recent crackdown is some officials were also suspended or even fired. Now, if you read between the lines, this prostitution crackdown is a starting point of another corruption crackdown. One internet user said, one day he took his 10-year-old son to a restaurant. When they were eating, the restaurant's television set showed one of those prostitution crackdown reports. Those sex trade images have deeply affected his son, and he felt very embarrassed and angry. In the past week, some media intentionally chose not to blur those sex trade videos just to win audience ratings and online clicks. This is against journalism principles. You know what? If the so-called exposé and subsequent crackdown were meant to clean up the town, so to speak, it may have also had a damaging effect on innocent people. Well, that's what the Yangcheng Evening News' report appears to be getting at. Xiao Li, a pretty girl working in the marketing department at a five-star hotel in Dongguan, says that she is planning to quit her job. She said, and I quote, "When I used to chat with my former classmates online, they were all jealous that I worked in a five-star hotel. I offered them discounts when they visited my hotel as well. But after the so-called media exposé, their messages have become creepy. Some even asked me if I did something nasty in the hotel. My mother called me right after the CCTV report and ordered me to quit my job. She also told me that she will look for a job for me at my cousin's company." And the South China Morning Post interviewed what they claim were lawyers and opinion makers who cited several reasons why the TV report that spawned the campaign was questionable at best. Many thought that by showing the faces of the sex workers and their customers with no technical editing, CCTV had trampled on the human dignity of the powerless in society. Dongguan's flourishing sex trade is well known. Hardly any investigation was needed for CCTV to get the so-called news. Still, the so-called dramatic exposé was useful as a public campaign to help the city's law enforcement officers strike fear into the hearts of the lawless. Many sex workers and their customers were duly filmed in secret or during the police raid, their alleged ugly and degenerate lifestyle displayed for all to see. The trade fuels the inequalities and discrimination. Many sex workers were victims of deception, trafficking, and threats under the control of gangsters and police officers in cahoots. Even those sex workers who appear to have freely chosen this work, in fact, had little choice because of a lack of opportunities.